Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, boys and girls. So today we are going to cover a lab, the VLAN and trunking lab with Cisco Packet Tracer. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to build a topology with two switches, two PCs, and one router. This is what we do. First thing, we need to know which kind of models we're going to use in order to build this topology. So let's open Packet Tracer and let's start working. You double click in the logo for Cisco Packet Tracer. Will take a few minutes to load, and you have to be patient. In the meantime, let's go over this topology and what we're trying to do. We're trying to establish connectivity between this switch 1, switch 2, and this router, and the PCs all together. That's what we will be doing today. So these are the objectives of the lab. Creating and manage VLANs, do creation, naming, and port assignment, configure 802.1q, trunk links with native VLAN, and allow VLAN list, verify VLAN and trunk status with show commands, implement inter-VLAN routing, router on a stick, troubleshoot common issues, disallowing VLANs, native VLAN mismatches, misassignment, misassigned ports, and DTP problems. So I just opened the Cisco Packet Tracer, and we're going to start with the physical part because maybe what I want to do is let's go ahead and create a topology, and then I will show you how to look at the rack and the configuration. Let's go ahead and do that. So first thing we do, we need a router. Let's use a 29, 2911. I'm going to just validate to see what kind of router we are going to use. Okay, they're recommending a 2811. Do I have that one here? Yeah, 2811. So let's use that one. Let's erase it and start with the 2811. Okay, then we will need two switches. It will be 2960 switches. One and two. And we're going to need two PCs. PC1 and PC2. Okay, now let me look at the topology so I can organize it. The way we're going to have this is as follows. Let me just add one PC over here, the router here, and the other PC there. There you go. Now, let's go ahead and rename these computers. This will be PC-A, PC-A. We will have switch 1, SW1, for here, switch 2, SW2, PC, this will be PC2 or PCB-B, some void, and then we will have router 1, R1. Now, we have to block the following connections. Let me just double check on that. PCA is connected to switch 1 via fast Ethernet 0/1. So, it will be fast Ethernet 0/1/2/2. Then PCB is fast Ethernet 03. Fast Ethernet 0/3. Then we will have the connection of fast Ethernet 01 with these two guys, these two switches. And finally, fast Ethernet 05 from the switch 1 to the 00 over here. Now, I want to check on something because I think this will be a crossover. Let me do a test real quick. Let me just erase this one for a moment. and use this magic cable. It is actually, it is actually, this is the correct cable. So it is faceted 00005 to 00. Now I want to check about switching between the switches just to see something else. Let me do a test. And this is actually the one that goes as a crossover. So let me go ahead and do that now. We have fast Ethernet 01 and fast Ethernet 01. Let's do the magic cable just to double check between the switch and the PC is actually correct. So it's fast Ethernet and the number two here. We have two, we have, it's actually three, number three. Okay, three. Now, what we need to do is the following. We go to options, preferences, and we change the font to 12, 16, 16, blue, and white. You will see later why that is important. So you go to the options, preferences, font, 16, 16, 12. The text will be blue and the background will be white. And click on apply and close. Now let's go ahead and go to options again and click on always show for labels on the logical workspace. We have it. What I want to do and what I want to try to understand is how to get the physical view of this equipment. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Where do we have this equipment? Because it shouldn't be that difficult to find the other one. So I'm going to stop the recording for a second to do that research. Wiring closet. Ah, okay, okay. Okay. We go to physical and then we have to click in this arrow and then look for main wiring closet and jump to selected location. There you will be able to see this information. Those are, let me just amplify, the switches, the router, and the connection to the physical location. They are located in a rack. They are all stuck in a rack. We talked about that in previous lessons. Now, main wiring closet, we have to click, for example, on PCA, jump to select, and you will be able to see the following. You will see that from the wiring closet, it jumps to PCA and PCB. So those PCs are connected to the devices in the main wiring closet. There is the rack. Go to this magnifying glass or this symbol that we're seeing there. And what you're going to do um, is click in the rack and jump to the selected option. And you can see the devices. This is the router and these are the switches. You can see the different ports. You can see the connections. Even you can add um, basically cables and everything here. So just to be informed about that, and that is a possible option that we didn't have in the past with the Cisco Packet Tracer, and now we have it available. Let's go back to the logical. We can start doing some magic there, configuration. So the first thing is configure let's go ahead and configure the PCs. It's actually the easier thing to do. Configure the PCs. So if we look at the diagram, let me show you. This is the IP address for PCA and PCB. Let me go ahead and configure these addresses. So first thing we do, we go to PC, desktop, IP configuration, and we add the first one. 192.168.10.10. Well, it's actually 255.255.255.0 for this one, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, slash 24, 192.168.10.1. Same thing for PCB. We go to desktop, we go to the configuration, we add the IP address, which it will be as follows: 192.168.20.10, and then 192.168.20.1, and then we are done with the PCs. That was easy. Now, let's go a little bit slower because sometimes I am running in a rush and a little bit intense because I've been doing this for years and it's easy for me, but I know for people who doesn't have that much practice, it can be a little bit difficult. So we go to the PCA, we go to the desktop, and then we start adding the IP addresses for the PCA. 192.168.10.10, the mask, and the default gateway. That will allow us to connect to the different devices. And then we have the CP, the IP address, the subnet mask, the default gateway. First thing we do now is as follows. We have prepared the lab. Copper straight through, only. The only crossover cable is between switches, but the rest of them are straight through cables. So the first thing we do is configure the PCs because it was easy to do. And now we have to configure the switches and finally the router. So let's start with the switches. Let me look for the configuration and you will have this configuration. There is a folder and there is the configuration. We need the configuration for switch one. So I'm going to copy this configuration and add it to the switch one. I just go to the notepad. Let me just share with you. And I copy this, everything here. What are we going to configure on this specific switch? This is actually the switch one. I don't want to save this. Let me just close this. We are configuring VLANs. We are configuring the host name, no IP domain lookup in order to avoid messages popping up. We are configuring the access for the PC to the VLAN, the trunking, the native VLAN, the trunk between switches and between the switch and the router. And this is the native VLAN and the default gateway. So I'm just going to copy this configuration and add it to switch one. Enable, and then I paste it. Now, hopefully everything was successfully added. And I'm just going to do a copy, running config, startup config, and then a show running config to see the configuration that we have just covered. This is what we have done so far. We added the host name, the no IP domain lookup, the native VLAN in facet 01, and you see the mismatch. We're going to fix that in a moment when we configure switch 2. What else did we do here? The native VLAN, the allowed VLANs for communication between switches, the access VLAN 10 for facet 0/2. Did we configure any specific VLANs? Let's see. If you run the show VLAN command, you will be able to see, yes, we configured VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 99, and VLAN 999. Sales, engineering, management, and native. Where did we add that specific device? Did we do it with any VLANs? For VLAN 10. So in VLAN 10, fast Ethernet 0/2 should be added. Let's see if we can see it there. There it is. Let's just run the command one more time. And here you can see sales fast Ethernet 0/2 is allowed as an access port VLAN for that specific port. Now, I want to do the configuration in switch 2 so we don't have those errors popping up all the time. Same thing, I just Control Z, I go to the switch 2, I type enable, I paste that configuration and click enter. And if I do a WR, the configuration will be saved. And then I do a show run to see what I was configuring here. What do we have? We have the same thing. We have pretty much the same thing, but now we are allowing access to fast Ethernet 03 for this specific port for the PCB to VLAN 20. We are, in addition, adding a spanning tree port flash and a spanning tree PPU card for security purposes. We did that, in fact, with this one. If we do in the switch one, we go back, show run. We did that one in the successful way. And what I want to show you is the following. Before we start doing the configuration for this specific router, we are going to add an console cable. RS32 will be connected to the router 1 via console. We're going to go to the physical connection and configure. Basically, we're going to go to the PCA, and let me see if I can do the following. I'm going to go to the terminal and click enter and click on no. You see, this is the correct way to do it. In real life, you don't have like the easy graphics stuff and the cables all together. You have to do it everything by hand. You have to do it manually. It will take time and procedure. So I'm just showing you the correct way to do it in real life. You click enable, and we're going to look for that configuration in the router. Of course, I will share this information with you. Then I paste it there. Then I go ahead and do a run, show run. What have we done so far? We added the inter-VLAN for VLANs 20 and 10, and also the native VLAN. So there is connectivity between VLANs and PCs. That's basically everything that we need right now. We do a copy running config, startup config. Let me see, am I doing? Yeah, the command was incomplete. That's what it was not working. Copy space running dash config space startup dash config, and there you go. Now, what else do we do? Let's go back to the logical. We go to this PC, you go to the terminal, and you now know how to do it with the console cable, how to connect to a network device and configure it. What I want to do now is follow the PDF file that we have before. Follow the steps. We have done the following. We have done the configuration of the PCs, the inter-VLAN configuration in the router, the configuration in the switches, and now it comes the time to troubleshoot this lab. First thing we will be doing is as follows. We are going to do some validation commands. So let's go ahead and go to switch 1 and 2. Let's do it the right way. Let's go ahead and erase this cable. Let me do it. And let's go ahead and use PCA RS232. Let's go ahead and connect it via console. And we are in the switch. Now, let's do the validation command for this one. First thing we do is show VLAN brief. Show VLAN brief. And you will see that specific VLAN that we talked about before, that is sales. We configure sales, engineering, management, and native. This one has the access for PCA. Now, let's do the same for the switch 2. Let's connect here, RS232, console cable. Let's go to the terminal, click on OK, and let's run the same command. Let's do a show, and then do a VLAN brief, show VLAN brief. There you have it. Now, look at the difference. Here, engineering, the VLAN 20, is providing access to the port FA0/3. Let's go ahead and do the following command. Show interfaces trunk. And you see there is trunking, and you see the information of the VLANs that are allowed to be participating in this trunking encapsulation. The main VLAN that we have, the main port that we have here is bus Ethernet 0/1 through VLAN 999, which is the native VLAN. You see the encapsulation is 802.1q and the status is strong. Now, let's move to switch 1. Let's do the same. Let's go ahead and connect via terminal. Let's go ahead and do a show interface strong. And it's very much the same thing, but look at something different. You have two ports doing trunking. Fast Ethernet 0/1 and Fast Ethernet 0/5. 802.1q for both. And they are doing trunking through the native VLAN 999. Another command that we're going to do is show IP interface brief in the router. So let's go to the router. We're just going to go directly and run that show IP interface brief. And you see it there. And what I mean with directly is that we're not connected through the console port, console cable. Usually in real life, you have to use a console cable to connect to devices. But since we have Cisco Packet Tracer, it is not mandatory. Depending in the academies, sometimes the instructor block this access and they only allow to connect via console. So you have knowledge and understand how to access devices with the console cable. But we have done this in these lessons, which should be all good. Now, what else are we doing here? Show IP interface brief. And you can see all the interfaces in the router. Basically, these are connected through the encapsulation 802, the one, and these are the sub interfaces and the specific interface up. It means the status of and the protocol are up. Everything is functioning effectively, correct. Now, the moment of the truth, we have to do a ping from PCA to the gateway. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go to the PC. Let's close this one. Let's go to the command prompt. Do you guys remember what is the IP address for the gateway? The specific gateway for the PC1. Okay. We do a ping to the 192.168.10.1. Successful. You have the reply, you have the bytes, the time, and the TTL. Now, the next test is to do another connectivity from PCB. Let's go to PCB. Let's close this one. Let's do a ping to the 192.168.20.1, and you see it's successful. We are reaching the gateway for both PCB and PCA. Now we have to communicate with the other PC, 192, the 168, that 10, successful. Let's do it the other way around. Let's go to the PC A, do a ping test to the 192 and 168. That 20 that 10, and there you go. Successful. We have completed the test. Now, troubleshooting. And let's go over this document. Some troubleshooting that we can be doing in case this is not working is the following. What happens if the trunk is down? Check the mode trunk and the native VLAN configuration. That can be one of the reasons because it's not working. What is no pin between VLANs? Verify the sub interfaces on router 1 and the trunk on SW1. PC in the wrong VLAN. That can happen. If you do a show VLAN brief or show VLAN, you will be seeing the ports. If they are correct, if they were configured successfully, and if they are in the right VLAN. VLAN not allowed. Verify the trunk allowed list. Remember the command for doing that? It is actually show interfaces trunk. All the VLANs that we are allowed to communicate via trunking protocol and the 802.11q. And DTP issues for trunk with switchboard mode trunk. That sometimes happens between the switches, and we need to configure the switchboard mode trunk between switches since it is required. So another problem are DTP issues or problems. Okay, let's go ahead and delete those drawings for a moment, and let's continue with the additional steps. Something else that we can do, for example, are, just do a highlight here, limit the VLANs on trunks for security, use the VLAN 999 as the native VLAN, no users. Name the management SBI in the VLAN 99. Add the management SBI in VLAN 99. Usually, we did that when we configure the default IP address and experiment with DTP negotiation. Okay, what else do we have here? Appendix, we have the configuration of the VLANs in switch 1, the access, VLAN 10, the trunks. All of these we have done successfully this lab. I'm just validating everything and double check, just in case. Okay, so today we have covered the following steps successfully. We have done the VLANs created with the VLAN command, VLAN 10, and then name HR, for example. We have done the trunking configuration, the 802.1q, the IP addresses, the different interfaces they are being allowed to do trunking. We did the pin connectivity test, and we validated the sub interfaces in router 1 were correctly configured and they were up. So I think that's pretty much. We are done with the lab. We have done an amazing job. I want to congratulate each of you for doing this lab, for taking the time, for learning. And it's been a pleasure, boys and girls. I will see you. Let me clear the drawings here. I will see you at the top of success. Take care. Until next lesson, I will see you around. Goodbye.